Hey, everybody wave.
Yay! All right.
This is my
Okay.
awesome choir group. All right, we'll get started. About 15 years ago, my husband wanted to do a service project with my children. And so he was listening to the radio, and he heard this radio announcer talk about this woman who had, thanks goodness, this woman had been in the hospital, and while she was in the hospital, she had lost everything because somebody had come in and robbed her home. And so he felt like this was a situation where he could actually help. So he called the radio station, and he found out the name of the person, and it just so happens that he was put in contact with a woman by the name of Ida Mae. Ida Mae, apparently, she's amazing. Her friend was a high school buddy that they were in school together, and she was taking care of her during this incident. But what was amazing about her is her family background. She was from a family of 15 children, and her parents never gave they gave away everything they could for people who were in need. In fact, they even put a sheet in their bedroom that separated two living areas, so that a family could live with them and live in their bedroom, not just for a few days, not for a month, but for 7 years. She was from a family who gave everything they could to whoever was in need. And as a result, for the last 50 years, she started a food bank out of her home. She took us in the backyard, and there was these two big buildings that were full of food. And she says, look off, she pointed off in the distance. She says, you see that building over there? That business is going to give us their building, and we're going to have a food bank. And it was $1 million building.
Wow.
And it just so happened that a year later, she invited us to the ribbon cutting, and we were able to be there to witness the community food bank, and it was because of her. She had perseverance, courage, and tenacity, and these are three requirements for grit. And that's what researchers are calling it. In order to be successful, it's required as a precursor to actually being successful is to have these three things, and that they're calling it grit. So they had done research on students, on people who are in the workforce, and they looked at all this data, and they realized to be successful, it requires perseverance, power of persuasion, passion, and perseverance is what requires grit. Now, you probably have experienced grit, challenging circumstances in your own life that you probably have had. You don't know it, but you probably developed grit. When I, just about a week ago, I went to the service project that the Salvation Army had, where we had to build hygiene kits, and there was these huge boxes, and it was really difficult to get the items out of the bottom, and so we started putting these little kids inside the boxes, and they would lift up. Okay, it's not going. They would lift up the box. This little kid, he got in the box, and he would lift up these items for us to get out of the box. And at one point, there was some items, about 20 items in the base of this one box, and I turned it over to get the items out. And this cute little boy comes up to me, and he says, "That's my job." And he pushes the box up, hops inside, and starts handing me the items. He really felt like it was his job. Oftentimes, we want to protect our children. We want to make it easy for them. We ourselves don't want to have the challenging experiences in our lives that develop those characteristics that help us succeed. When I went down to Houston to help with the hurricane victims, This is a picture of what I experienced. I opened a drawer and it was full of nasty water. And all these items we had to pull out of the drawer, and we had to go through closets full of moldy clothing, and we had to haul all these items, all this furniture out to the street. And we had to take out sheetrock and pull it off the walls and put it out onto the street. And as I was doing all of this, I recognized this really takes perseverance. It takes tenacity. And so I'm wondering, what are you doing in your own lives that you're actually building that grit in your life? Are you participating and being vulnerable in conversations with people? Or are you sitting back and letting things happen? Are you finding opportunities for your own children to work to go forward and try to develop these characteristics? Just Serves is an awesome opportunity for all of us to get involved in these service projects. But not just to be involved, but also to go search out service opportunities in the community. Many of you know that I work for Gladney Adoption Center, and I drive birth mothers around to appointments. Like, I take them to school if they need to finish their high school degree. I take them to CNA training if they want to get a better job. I take them to the local TCC to get courses so that they can eventually be more marketable in the future. And it just recently I realized I am preventing poverty. I am allowing these girls to get a step up in their lives so they won't rely on the government. And it made me realize I was actually doing something more helpful for the world than I realized. Just recently, I also went over to Catholic Charities and learned that they needed foster parents, they need drivers, they need caseworkers, and their goal is to service 100,000 people in the next 10 years, and that takes a lot of people. But they have hope that they can be able to bring hope in others' lives and prevent poverty from happening. So I'm encouraging you to put on your, that's not going to work. Put on your yellow shirts and go out into the community and serve those who are in need. And I know that you can develop great joy in your life. But not only that, but a lot of times when you go through your ordinary day-to-day activities, you think you're just ordinary. You're just ordinary people. But when you serve other people, you become extraordinary. And so I'm just here to encourage you to be extraordinary. Thank you.
Woo, yeah, right.
Yellow shirts.
There we go. Ordinary.